Welcome back to another episode of Decentralized Chain. It's Feroz, and in today's episode, we are yet again talking to Richard from Saito. We're going to be talking about hires, we're going to be talking about liquidity, exchange listings, the tech, Web3 grants, everything that has been going on over at Saito that you want to know about. And better still, if you want to learn more about crypto, whether it's news, insights, or analysis to help you get that edge, start now by hitting the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. Better still, why don't you come on over and join us in the Telegram channel? Plenty of crypto enthusiasts talking about all things crypto, no matter how big or small. Now, let's jump in and catch up with Richard and see what we have going on over at Saito. Richard, welcome back to the show. Always a pleasure to have you here. How have you been?
Really, really good. Thanks. It's a pleasure as always to be here.
No, excellent. Well, look, let's jump straight in. There's a number of things that clearly have happened since we last spoken, and I just see sentiment generally around Saito just always on the up and up, and there are reasons behind it. So let's kick off with community, because I think a lot of the sentiment is being driven from there. And what is the latest with our community?
It's been amazing the last month and a bit, maybe sort of start kicking off around the last time we spoke, but it's just continued and grown. Sort of people are starting to mention the red card army, not having our own Twitter icon or anything yet. Jack's gone now. People have started just putting the red card in the names, and my Twitter is just wedged full of that, and that's fantastic. Because it's just sign of real ongoing support. I think the cool thing, as you mentioned, is the way that's come together. It's been on the back of consistent messaging about our fundamentals. It isn't, it's a really organic group of people who interact with a lot and have built up a strong relationship with. And it's people who've come from everywhere. People who've bumped into us from the DeFi space, but BSV folks and all sorts have come along. People who really believe in that Web3 mission, whether they kind of got into the idea in 2014 or whether they're just discovering it now. And what we're seeing is some really fantastic product come out of that, like results come out of that, I suppose. People have come through and edited up the white paper. People have made FAQ, kind of independent FAQs and document repositories about Saito. Starting to see people doing videos and things. A fantastic article by a guy called 0x Luminous called Zen of Saito, which is a really solid take. I think one of the best explanations of what we're on about that I've ever seen, and that's come unsolicited from a community member. So we couldn't be more excited than at the moment. Being invited onto community AMAs and podcasts. A couple of those have happened. One with the Crypto Aces group, that was really great. Dave was on the Crypto Bits YouTube channel. And we've even got non-English groups springing up now who are starting to form a Telegram group, get onto translation of the key documents, etc. Nothing could be, as a founder, nothing could be more rewarding than having people
exactly
take what you do seriously and get on with the business of helping make it happen. So it's been blowing us away this last couple of weeks.
So carry on community. No, I think it's always good because when I sort of look back in terms of content, because there's a lot of content out there around Saito, and those who know, I have like a strong belief in knowledge management and community and sharing in general. And when you start getting, I would say, community creating FAQs, one of the things that's really powerful there is sometimes not everybody understands tech, right? You almost need to kind of break it down into layman's terms. And that's what I find that some of these FAQs generally do. It kind of helps the everyday person, within this space really understand and get a grasp of exactly what's going on, and, really able to get a truer, deeper understanding in simple terms from people who have digested it and I would say then, regurgitated it, but in a much more palatable way.
Well, I think it's also, there are 1,000 ways to approach any topic. And so when someone does it, they're scratching that itch they have. And that's going to help a bunch of people out there get a unique picture and take on things that it's impossible for us as a group anticipate everything. And I think that's another great thing with the community stuff is whether it's a meme that's a little bit edgy or an edit on the white paper, the community are freer to just get involved and be themselves.
Yeah.
Not that we're restricted as a project or I feel any like, oh no, poor me, I have to do this or I have to do that. But we're really busily trying to focus on kind of supporting everybody and being as correct as we can whenever we say anything, etc. So it's great to see like a discussion in a forum where the two guys actually, both of them are slightly wrong, maybe technically or whatever, but they're getting through the topic in a way that's actually teaching them in a way that will be much stickier, much more fun and interesting than if they listen to me.
No, exactly, and that's the key there. So let's talk a bit about integration, because recently, from what I said, you got the IME wallet integration. What's that all about?
This one was really fun. I mean, it was just a little thing that came along, but they're a cool bunch of guys. And what they've done, it's kind of an inverse of what most people think. They've taken essentially wallet functionality and added a Telegram support to it. So basically what they approach about is just creating a Telegram client. Well, they've got their own client, but adding Saito to their Telegram client that has wallet functionality. So we hopped in on that with them, and it's great fun. It just lets you send a Saito or two to anyone's Telegram handle. So that's kind of fun.
That's pretty good. My Telegram handle's below if anybody wants to send Saito to me. So then, exactly. Now, one of the other things that I noticed, and there was quite a big buzz in the community, and a lot of people have been asking, since the beginning, which is around liquidity, right? What can I do with my Saito that I have? How can I make Saito work for me? And so we also had a liquidity program. How is that coming along?
That's going really well. So for people who don't get what we're doing, it's Pancake swap liquidity provision. And what we've said as a project is, people are worried always about what happens if the pool goes away and I get stuck with tokens. So what we've said is we've got a strong track record. People have seen how we've handled Uniswap, etc. We're always wanting to help out and provide better, more cost-effective options to community, and also find ways for them to, profit out of holding the Saito in the interim. And this was a way of doing that. So we guarantee that there'll always be liquidity there, and we keep a daily watch. If it falls sort of out of a band, we top it up to the kind of 250K. But what we're also guaranteeing is we'll get out of the way if other people want to come in. So rather than leave our liquidity there, if the community are coming in, they can get those really good APYs and APR rates because we're not going to be taking it away from them. So what's been happening is we've gone down to about 60% of the pool, and that's dropping as more people come in. And so we're just leaving, we're kind of removing whatever is being fulfilled by the community. And that's a way of just saying to people who've supported us right from the start, look, here's an opportunity to get a really good return on your Saito. You're participating, you've got the ups and downs of liquidity provision. But we think that's a really good way to offer an option to people that's not one of the kind of like pool options, etc., where really what the project is doing is pouring in tokens from the top. And what that ends up doing is it rewards some people who are paying close attention, who are getting involved, but it's basically, just inflating or deflating everybody else's tokens. So for us, it seems much more, better option for our community to actually say, let's do this together. This is the kind of thing we do. Here's a way we can share in that revenue that is, a good, cool, decentralized source of revenue for the community, and not do it through basically taking money from one person and giving it to another, which is a lot of what's going on with pools and so forth out there. And we've had great take up, so we're really happy with that.
No, it's smart, and I like it actually. It's much more. It's much more giving in terms of everyone being able to benefit from it as well at the same time. Let's talk about exchanges. I mean, we've had a few more exchange listings, have we not, since we last spoke?
Yeah, so I kind of, what's cool is that the Bitra one, it just happened, and they listed us without talking to us. La Token, actually, really good credit to them. They approached us. They set everything up and handled everything really efficiently, and we collaborated on some really cool promotional things. Again, no giveaways or things that are just dumping tokens into the wild, but rather we did some AMAs and outreach things where we got in touch with their community, let them know what we're doing, and I think got some really impressive takeoff. They were also super impressed with the support they got from the Saito community around those events. So really positive. And what we like about this is it's setting a precedent. We are pursuing and pushing larger exchanges, but we're trying to work out how to work with them in a way that doesn't just, again, dilute token value for everyone involved. And nobody who's come in on their own dime loves a whale.
Yeah, no, of course.
So we're doing what we can. We're doing what we can to kind of prevent inventing whales just for short-term gain, basically. And I think we're seeing that's panning out. More and more exchanges and other industry groups are starting to look at us and talk to us and say on much better terms than we would if we kind of walked up to them cap in hand and said, please, sir, can we do an exchange? At which case, again, you're advantaging anyone who can make a quick profit on any bump in the price, but you're not really helping the project or the long-term supporters when you do that. So we want to make sure we get proper listings over time that just have a general and overall healthy result for the whole project.
Yeah, I mean, you get a much healthier curve as well. I think just in the overall lifespan of the token price as well. So which is always
there's a hell of a lot of there's a hell of a lot of charts out there that looked absolutely wonderful at one point in time.
No. Yeah, exactly.
We could zoom into part of it, and everyone was just supremely happy. But that's easier to engineer than a chart that basically showed meant that everyone who came in over time did better and better and better.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Much more what we want out of price. I mean, and remembering as well, we're after the utility. In the end, the value of Saito will relate to people being able to use it. So ups and downs are not what we're about. No, we're about getting a really solid price for token to be useful on the network over time.
And on topic of usefulness, it's always great to see teams building. In terms of your teams, are we also further growing and expanding? Because every time we talk, there always seems to be we're hiring more people on. So what's the team looking like?
So I think we spoke about two devs last time around. Those guys actually just had their reviews, etc., and they're both signing on for longer term contracts, which is fantastic.
Okay.
But we've also picked up a really top flight product manager, ex Red Hat, great open source credentials. He's being mean to me for us. He's actually whipping us into order. He's got a lot of things where he's looking at us and he's like, guys, documentation, we need to tighten this up, tighten that up, bring in really useful processes, etc. Which it's where we're at, and it's really helpful, and it's making things tick along even more smoothly. And we've also got another dev kicking over from part-time to full-time, kind of joining us in time zone in 1st of Jan. So that's front end and the kind of application stack. So team's growing and expanding. We've got I think 3 or 4 high positions open at the moment. I'm seeing 2 people about potentially promotional marketing outreach positions tomorrow, and it's non-stop. And the great thing is you can just feel the vibe with the community behind us, and the kind of team picking up. It's sort of feeling like there's really snowballing starting to get happening, and that's fantastic.
Oh, that's really good. So that clearly must mean that we, with all these devs on board, there is development happening. So my next question naturally is, how are we looking in terms of tech?
Right. So the big news is having updated everything to what we're calling Rust Consensus. So that's updates. A really easy thing to explain, because people might be like, well, what are you doing? A really easy thing to explain is the original kind of networks were using JSON, plain text blocks. That's obviously not what a high performance tier one blockchain does. So it's just converting everything over to handling fully binary blocks and interactions. When you do that, it doesn't take that long, but then all of a sudden there are 1,000 little edge cases, etc. So basically everything's up to speed on that. And now we're just making sure that the gameplay and things like chat are all working flawlessly before we've swapped that in to become the main network. And then there's a matter of like hooking up the bigger firepower in the Rust code base to that, and that's all step by step by step, and that'll move us ahead. One of the things we're doing here is we're wanting to make sure that we're supporting the existing stack, etc., as we move along. And this is a hell of a lot more complicated than launching or updating your smart contract. So there's a lot of messaging to do with the community, but I think they're starting to see as well that these things are incremental. We build on strength, and that over time, what we're doing is something really substantial. And again, I think we'll obviously with more devs in place, there's a bit of investment goes into getting them up to speed and getting the team up to that next level. But then once that kicks in, we'll see even faster growth and more happening. So feeling really positive on that front, even though it's been a hard slog, particularly when you do a major network overhaul and you've just got 1,000 things that should line up, and actually it's 993 of them are fine. It's it's the 7 that you've got to fix, but you've got to go through and tweak those and get them right.
Talking about increments, so increments also, that kind of ties into Web3 grants. How are we looking there as well?
So I think last time we spoke, we just submitted.
Yeah.
And the good news is a little bit of work, a couple of responses to queries from the team there, and that's now been fully accepted. So the grant is complete. The .arcade work is there to see for the next while. And we're going to take that, and the really cool thing about that is with what we've learned there, we're going to take that POLKADOT ecosystem integration and expand that with the help of some partners into more generic crypto support. So that's something we announced in the roadmap. And with the milestone cemented and the Rust consensus stuff kind of basically now we're in a spot where we can see the kind of completion of that tunnel, we can start shifting resources and time onto the kind of generic crypto integration. And that's really our passport to being able to go to different projects around the space and say, hey, do you want to work together? This is what we can offer. Yeah. And for devs generally to see, okay, so I could put, Solana NFTs on this platform really easily, or whatever the thing that they particularly want to do is, and that's kind of our next step, and that's going to be a big part of the next 6 months and year, I suppose.
Oh, fantastic. Well, look, Richard, as always, thank you so much for all the updates. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and understand exactly with everything's happening at Saito, and there's so much. And
it's always a pleasure to have like this much to get into kind of the time slot. So
I know
the only thing I would ever fear is like a slow month where I'm like, well, nice.
I don't think anything when we've caught up, we've ever had any slow ones. There's always been progress. There's always something to talk about.
I can't see it happening.
No, fantastic. Well, look, Richard, if we don't speak before then, have a great, wonderful end of year, and we will definitely catch up in the new year, no doubt.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'll speak to you again in January.